today I'm very happy and pleased to welcome and introduce to you Nathan Oxenfeld. Nathan Oxenfeld is based in North Carolina in the USA, and he's the author of the book Give Up Your Glasses for Good. And besides his book and his extremely intense activity to diffuse and share natural vision to the world, very recently, in a collaboration with another colleague from Australia, they have put together a documentary on natural vision improvement. Correct me if I'm wrong, the name of the documentary is Vision 2020 From Eyesight to Insight. And this documentary was released on the 8th of October on the century of the discoveries of Dr. Bates' pioneer on natural vision improvement. So the 8th of October being the World's Sight Day. So Nathan, welcome. Thank you for being with us today. I'm very pleased to bring you to the forum. And please tell us about your journey and tell us, of course, about your book and your documentary and all the amazing things that you're doing at this moment to share our vision with as many people possible in the world. Thanks
Absolutely.
for being with us.
Thank you, Ainhoa. This is such an honor and a pleasure to be here and really appreciate being involved in this project. And I do agree that this is the year 2020 to be really talking about this stuff in a much bigger way. I love what you said there of presenting a new vision of the world. That's a really powerful intention, and I'm right there with you. So yeah, it's been definitely quite a journey about vision and eyes and eyesight and insight over the past 7 years since I first started teaching this. But I learned about it 3 years prior to that in 2010. So actually, it's been 10 years since I was first introduced to these concepts, that there was a different vision out there, a different type of vision that I could access. More of a natural vision as opposed to what I was used to, which is more artificial vision. Because I had gotten my glasses when I was pretty young, at about 7 or 8 years old. And that's pretty much all I knew, was just glasses and contacts every day for every activity, from the moment I woke up till the moment I went to bed, essentially. And I was kind of on track just to get laser eye surgery, because other than glasses and contacts, that was really the only other option that I knew about. And I'm really glad that I held off on that, because not too long after, a friend of mine introduced me to the Bates Method. And it was my first introduction to like any other option for my eyesight. And so I was like pretty curious about it, but I decided to just go for it and just try it. And I was actually in Iceland at the time. I was doing a study abroad program. And so I went off to Iceland to do this 3-month program with almost -4 glasses for myopia and almost -2 for astigmatism. And I met this guy the first day of this trip. We were in the airport and he had pinhole glasses on. And I had just never seen anything like that before. So, he was one of my classmates. We were getting to know each other. So I was just asking him about his pinhole glasses. And he said, yeah, these help me see the menu at the restaurant in the distance without my prescription glasses. And so naturally I tried them on and was kind of blown away with how well I could see through these plastic glasses with holes poked in them. And he had just learned about the Bates Method in India at the School for Perfect Eyesight in Pondicherry. There's an ashram there
very famous place. Lots of people have been trained there or have got in touch with natural vision improvement in India. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's. I was going to ask you if you were familiar with that place as well.
Yeah, I know several people in Spain and in other countries that have got acquainted with natural vision improvement in Pondicherry. Yes.
Yeah, and so R.S. Agarwal's book Yoga and Vision was the first I had ever read about any kind of Bates's work or materials, and so naturally I wanted to go to Bates's materials and go straight to the source. So by the end of that 3 months that I was in Iceland, where I was taking off my glasses essentially for the first time since I had gotten them, and trying some of these basic practices that maybe we could even go into today, things like some swinging and sunning and palming and, you know, these relaxing things. My glasses that I went to Iceland with were already too strong. So just in 3 months, I had already dropped my prescription. And that to me proved that there was something to this. And even though it wasn't like this full recovery, you know, in such a short time, I was just like really excited to keep learning. So I just kind of like dove into it myself and really started studying this stuff. But I hit a point where I kind of plateaued and I wasn't really getting any further. I got down to -2. So I cut my prescription in half from like -4 to -2. And then I kind of realized that I needed some help. So I started researching. I actually didn't even know that there were many people still, you know, teaching this stuff in the 21st century. I thought since Dr. Bates had created it in the 1900s that, you know, early 1900s, that, yeah, it was just,
it had faded or disappeared or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just got really excited when I saw, wow, there's like people in California and in New York and the Netherlands and in Europe and all over the world, you know, like there's these, you know, this big community that I'd had no idea even existed. And so I started, you know, seeking out, who do I want to work with? Who do I want to get some help from? And ended up choosing a vision educator in California named Dr. Jerry Ann Tabor. And she, her practice is called aerobics. And I thought that was kind of a funny little play on words of like aerobics. But despite that name kind of giving you that idea of like aerobic exercise or like, you know, working, the reason I chose Dr. Tabor is because she is in direct teaching lineage of Dr. Bates and Margaret Corbett, like 5th generation. And so it just seemed like she was really, you know, teaching the original methods that were developed by Bates and his proteges and stuff.
I do believe in Pondicherry, it's also a direct line, a direct lineage, or that's what I have been told. Wonderful. So you managed to, on your own, cut your prescription in half from 4 to 2, and then you look for help with Dr. Jerry and Tabor, which is also going to participate in the forum. So it will be, amazing to have her as well with us. And then you start working with her, and what happens next?
It was like night and day. I mean, when I didn't have a coach or any help, I was, you know, like you kind of insinuated at the start when you were introducing me about my like, you know, intense activity with this work. Like I am kind of a driven person, and I do have that drive and discipline that it takes to do this totally on your own, because it is possible to do it totally by yourself. But I didn't have the consistency or the accountability, and I didn't really have the proper instruction. I had a good idea that I was doing it correctly, but there was still a little bit of doubt, like, am I doing this wrong? Or like, is there something I should be doing differently? And so when I started meeting up with her on a weekly basis, instead of me having to be the person scouring all the books and videos and figuring it all out myself, I could just kind of like sit back and relax and just like listen to her and follow her guidance and instruction. And like, it made it such a more relaxing experience. And it removed that element of doubt from the process.
Well, you listening to us, this is really not on purpose. I mean, it's a surprise that Nathan is saying this, but but listen, Nathan is saying, if you want to go fast, go with someone. If you want to go deep, go with someone. Find a coach, find someone to help you. And of course, you can look for books and videos and do it on your own if you wish, or at least try the first steps to be sure and certain that it does work and it does work for you. But then if you want to have certainty, a very good choice is to find a vision educator somewhere and work with him or her. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but I mean, I think indirectly there was a very good idea to share and highlight there for people who may be listening to us and that are probably wondering if they're watching this video, if they can do it, how it's possible, how they should do, how they should proceed. But sorry again. So continue. It was night and day, and it was so much easier to go by her hand and just listen to her and apply whatever she would suggest to do.
Yeah, because I mean, you can learn the mechanics, you can learn the practices and things from books and from videos, but what you don't get is that feedback. So her feedback to me was really valuable, and there are things that still, made an impression in my mind that I still remember to this day of these little. The reason I love Dr. Tabor so much is she has these little short mantras or little statements that encapsulate these like fairly deep, complex concepts from the Bates teachings. Something
Wonderful.
like your eyes attend your thoughts. When she first told me that, I had no idea what that meant and just went over my head, and it didn't really stick with me. But she kept repeating it over and over again, and I just, that insinuated to me that that's probably a pretty important concept there. And yeah, it wasn't until I had an experience of that it was like, oh, that's what she was talking about. And it has more to do with a lot of times when people first start working on improving their vision, it's kind of like they get behind the wheel and they start driving the car, and that kind of represents like, okay, I don't know about you, but when I first meet people who have started this work on their own, a lot of people say, yeah, I do my eye movements. I look left and right and up and down and around. And that's, to me, that's like you've got your hands on the wheel and you're kind of controlling the eyes and kind of forcing them to do something that maybe they don't even want to do. Whereas Dr. Tabor's statement of your eyes attend your thoughts, then all of a sudden it's like you take your hands off the wheel, or it's almost like you're in like a self-driving car. And so it's almost like the mind is driving and the eyes are just responding to the thoughts or the mind. And it's a subtle difference, but it can really make a big change in the way that we're seeing and feeling with our eyes.
Yeah, this it's a very integrated process, and the eyes or the eyeballs is just a fraction of it all. And well, my story is different from yours because I actually was introduced to natural vision improvement when I was a child. I was 6 months old, so I learned very quickly how to see well very soon. So actually, to be able to teach others, I've had to learn from my own students because there was little that I could relate from my own experience because it happened so early.
Right.
But at the same time, these concepts, they're like obvious, natural. It's like, yeah, of course. Yeah, that's the way it is. So anyway, so you do work with Dr. Jerian Tabor. And so I suppose that you got rid of glasses for good. And how do you decide to become a vision educator yourself? Tell us more about.
Yeah, it pretty much is. It stemmed out of what you said earlier when I was talking about my experience with night and day versus before and after having a teacher. Going through that experience was a big catalyst in me wanting to become a teacher so that I could save other people time and make it more efficient for people. And I also just saw like a huge need for it, like I knew, I mentioned that I learned about the Bates method in 2010. Several years before that, I was just introduced to yoga and meditation. So I was already beginning this journey, from like 2008, 2009 to really kind of deepen my more kind of spiritual side and the spiritual growth and just making healthier choices and things like that. And when I came across the Bates stuff, it was just like, I was starting to realize I kind of want to become a yoga teacher. I want to go through a yoga teacher training and share this gift of yoga with people. But there wasn't as much of a need for that. I still did it. I'm still I went through my yoga teacher training and became a yoga teacher and taught yoga for a few years. But here in Asheville, where I live, it's a very saturated market. There's hundreds and hundreds of yoga teachers here in this little tiny mountain town. And so it was actually challenging to like fill up a class and actually like make a living just teaching yoga. And when I learned about the Bates method, it's like, this is what people need. There's not enough, vision teachers out there. There's more than enough yoga teachers out there.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought of it as like eye yoga anyway. So
in a way, if I may, like 1/3 of the world population has vision problems, and the OMS, the World Health Organization, I'm probably saying it in Spanish or French anyway.
Yeah.
So they say that 80% of the vision problems could be solved, at least. So, and they also say that 80% of any kind of sickness or symptom is due to stress. So, and after 40, we know that the statistics go even higher. So after 40, about everyone has vision problems if they haven't learned how to take care of their vision, as we can teach people to do. And I don't know what your numbers would be if we count the amount of vision educators that there are in the world. And it's probably measured in hundreds. How many yoga teachers are there out there in the world, or physiotherapists, or people who give massage, or psychologists? And so as a profession, we are, for the moment, we are not so many, and we are in front of a huge need, as you say. So yeah, there's definitely room for a lot more of us. And here the challenge is more, in my experience, I don't know how about yours, is more in terms of educating people to the opportunity and the possibility of this way of seeing clearly being possible and being scientifically very well based. Most people are not aware of this. And this is one of the reasons for creating this forum, to bring lots of vision educators from different countries, from different schools, who work with different methods, who have based their practice in different kinds of scientific background, and showing that it's really possible and it's working all over the world. So yeah, thank you. And sorry for interrupting once more.
It's perfect. And yeah, I'm excited that the possibility of these things that we're putting on this year to really raise awareness about this stuff will generate even more interest in people wanting to become vision educators themselves, or, at least like, having this stuff kind of seep into people's conversations, or just, into the zeitgeist, or into the collective consciousness, because it's like, it is a kind of a rarity. And I'm sure that I'm not the only person who had that response when I was first introduced to it, of just like confusion and like, what are you talking about? Like, you're crazy. Like, that's not possible. I've never heard of this before. And we kind of, that's an understandable response when we're introduced to something new and unfamiliar, especially if it makes some outstanding claims. And I agree that I was interested in looking at case histories and success stories and evidence and proof. And I did that. I searched it, I found it, and that was all good. But for me, and this comes out of my yoga background, the highest level of truth is, one's personal experience. And so sure, I had all that there to kind of bring me closer to that direction, but it wasn't until I had my own clear flashes and experiences with natural clear vision that I really, in my heart, really felt like, yes, this is real and this is possible, and this is my journey. So these other people doing the studies and the case histories, and that's their journeys and their stories, and that helped my journey, but this is my journey, and I need to really focus on me for this.
Well, you've been focusing on you and you have been very successful at it. And you have also been amazingly active this year. I mean, as you say, we're celebrating the century, the 100th anniversary of Bates' works. And yeah, and on the Spanish speaking world, we have been doing lots of things. We did a forum already in July, celebrating the anniversary, and we had over 20 guests from 11 countries, I believe. So this is like a second part, second half. But that's just on my side. And you have been extremely active this year as well. You put together an online summit, a one-day online summit, and you were co-organizing also the American Conference on Vision Improvement and or vision educators. And this documentary has been quite a journey. I would really be interested that you talk about all these initiatives that you have carried on with other people as well, to diffuse and to share the new vision to the world, because this is our mission, this is our vision, and it's amazing that we are sharing all these steps and actions to bring this opportunity that's so gratifying to as many people as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely feel like this year has definitely been a year of collaboration in terms of, um, sure, my name's been attached to certain projects this year with the conference and the summit and the documentary, but all of these things have been team efforts, and whether it's been just inspiration from other people or actually working together on these projects. And I also do look at it as a culmination of the past, 5-6 years of putting the book out, making these courses, and kind of building it up little by little, like starting a YouTube channel, starting a podcast. And at this point, once the movie came out last month, I was just kind of reflecting back on all these different things I've got going on. It seems like a lot, but it all came like one step at a time, and it kind of built on itself. But all along, I knew that something like a movie or a documentary or a film would be a really conducive medium for spreading this message, because we're kind of in this like golden age of entertainment and Netflix and all these things. People are just so used to consuming and binge watching things and stuff like that. And so I had my book out as a guide, a physical thing to help people learn this stuff, and I had my courses that were helping individual people and groups and stuff. But I wanted this. I'm sure you've encountered this when people are new to this stuff, and they ask you to explain it, or like, how does this work, or like, what do you mean? I wanted to have some simple little thing like the documentary, just like be like, just watch this film and pretty much all your questions will be answered. And so we really wanted to, just like this summit, feature, like really highlight the fact that this is a global community. And so before the shutdown, the pandemic, I was traveling around the world. You mentioned my colleague from Australia, Barry Alcatel. He flew from Australia to the US. We met up on the West Coast. We did a little road trip, and we drove to Mayor Schneider's studio in San Francisco and stopped at a couple places along the way to do some interviews and stuff. And then we parted ways. They did some more interviews. I did some interviews on the East Coast. Then I made my way over to Europe to interview people at a conference there, and went down to South America to interview people there. And it's just like bringing all of these people together on the screen in one, continuous film, really made me feel just like so pleased that, I know how powerful and this message is and how amazing these teachers are on their own. And then really to kind of come together, just like this summit, like we're all here and like so much energy packed together, that just like amplifies the whole message, I think. So we filmed most of it last year in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And, we had obvious, like everybody else, we had our own, plan for 2020, looking ahead of this whole like documentary release and tour around the country and doing screenings and stuff like that. But we had to kind of adjust and adapt, and we made it a little bit more of a virtual screening. Like Ainhoa mentioned at the summit last month. But Barry was, the situation in Australia actually allowed them to rent a theater and actually show it on the big screen, which was pretty cool.
Wonderful. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. But, neither Barry nor I are filmmakers. We're vision teachers. We have some, I've got my YouTube channel, and he's got his video courses and stuff, but this was definitely a different scope. And it was very DIY, but we just, pretty much, crowdfunded it and self-funded it and just kind of were self-starters about it. And we were told, like, if you don't have like $100,000 or $200,000, don't even bother, trying to make a documentary. And, we had fraction of that. And we didn't care exactly if it wasn't going to be exactly, perfect as we wanted it, but I'm really, really happy with how it all came out. And I'm excited to see how it just continues to get out there. And in case people want to check it out, the easiest way to find it is vision2020movie.com.
Well, I was going to say, of course, it would be amazing for people to be able to check it out. So if you send us the URL, we will probably put it somewhere around this video in the pages of the forum so that they can access it. And I know it was possible to watch the film for free for a few days when it was released. Yeah. And now there's some entry price, but it's really affordable. So yeah, for the value, it's really worth to watch it. You can rent it or buy it. I believe there's like two options. So yeah, let's make sure that we put the link somewhere around here so that people can do it. And I would love to ask you, I mean, whether it's about your journey as a vision teacher or doing this documentary, both in your practice as a teacher and also interviewing all these colleagues around the world, you have probably been able to listen to amazing stories, breakthrough moments, people that sometimes are able to do things that they believe in the beginning are impossible. And it's so gratifying and joyful to see them make these transformations. Can you tell us about a few of those cases, examples, touching stories, whether it's your own or that you have discovered through making the documentary?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just the process of sitting down and interviewing all those people was just so enriching. And I didn't even get to do all of them. Barry and I kind of split them up. But for, thinking back on my experience of teaching this over the past several years, one there's definitely a few really impressive stories, but really one that always kind of stood out to the top for me was actually my oldest student I've ever worked with. She didn't start working with me till she was 89.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
But she had already been, doing some of her own work on her vision for 5 years. So she started at about 84.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't have depth perception.
Okay.
So she had lived 84 years with, without 3D vision. And she stumbled upon Dr. Sue Barry, who has a book called Fixing My Gaze. And she has a great TED Talk. It's on YouTube. It's like
I know.
10 to 15 minutes. Yeah.
Amazing.
And, and Sue Barry, didn't have depth perception either. I think she had amblyopia. And through some of this vision training, she regained depth perception past the critical period, which, past supposedly after 6 or 7 or 8 years old, there's, you can't get it back according to the traditional narrative. So she kind of disproved that and put her story into a book. So this student read that, and at the age of 84 started seeing 3-dimensionally And that, it's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around of like what that would be like, like all of a sudden 84 years into your life, all of a sudden the world changes into this three-dimensional place that you haven't seen, experienced before. And talk about new vision of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just with her depth perception at 84. So when she started working with me at 89, then we were kind of targeting some of the other issues, because she also had some blur. She had glaucoma. She had sort of a range of different complications going on.
A
But through,
combo of symptoms.
yeah, through doing the Bates work and doing the relaxation,
Mm-hmm.
not only did she get to the point of like actually reading her magazines and newspapers without her reading glasses, with nice sunlight, but her intraocular pressure numbers went down. She got off her glaucoma drops. In her, we worked together for a few years. I think, from 89 to about 92, 93. So in her 90s, getting off of reading glasses, off of these medications, and finding this more homeostatic state with her eyes was just like, to me, I don't want glasses in my 90s. I want my eyes to be healthy into my 70s and 80s and 90s. And she, is living proof that it's never too late it's never too late to start this stuff. And B, it is possible for our eyes and our vision to last a lifetime, essentially. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, before I worked with her, Dr. Tabor was kind of that person to me, because when I started working with Dr. Tabor,
Mm-hmm.
I saw that she was in her 70s, and I was like, wow, she doesn't have glasses in her 70s, and I don't want glasses in my 70s, so I'm going to do whatever she's doing. And so, yeah, we got to
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
find these, older people who are doing it right.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, most of my students are most of my students are between 40 and 70 online, but at the university where I teach natural vision improvement, in the Free University of Toulouse, the people who come there, they come after 60. So I've had many students of 60, 70, 80, 90, and they have success the same way as any other person at any other age. So absolutely, this is a very message full of hope to whomever is listening and is wondering, is it too late for me to improve my vision naturally at my age, whatever it is. And yeah, my personal experience, I did it with 6 months, and
Yeah.
we have seen students beyond 90, so it really works at any age. Yeah. Wow, really beautiful. And what would you say is a key concept or a key idea of the Bates method, and a couple of, I don't know, 2, 3 techniques that have been particularly useful for you, so that people also have something that they can practice, experience, and play with, and have their own results, as you said, in yoga and in other practices, in other body practices. In the end, the most important proof of truth is what you experience. So it's important for me also that people not only get exposed to our journeys and transformations and some theoretical ideas, but also a couple of things, techniques, exercises, practices, activities, something that they can test and try and have some impression, some first results of what our work does.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've got a few favorites in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like super simple things you can just try out right away and just test and see how do you feel? How does it make you feel? What happens? It could be just an internal shift where you notice
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm thinking differently, or I'm feeling differently, or something like that. Or it might even be an external shift in terms of
Mm-hmm.
wow, I'm actually seeing things a little differently. So it is best to, do these experiments without any artificial correction, so you can actually tell if you do have an external shift. Because if you do this stuff and you've got glasses or contacts on, you might feel a difference, but you won't really notice the visual difference as much because of that lens there.
Mhm.
This, I'm not going to like go too into this because unless you're watching this outside in the sun,
Mhm.
you might not be able to try this right now, but maybe at some point later today or this week or whatever. I'd say my number one favorite practice from the Bates method is sunning, and
Mhm.
specifically sun sandwiches, which is where you alternate sunning and palming back and forth just for short little doses, which involves just having the sun, ideally when it's low in the sky, shining on your face with your eyes closed, and just some gentle swinging, either turning the head or moving the body in some way. I generally don't just stay totally still. I generally kind of keep some sort of movement going like that just for 5 or 10 or 15 seconds. And then 5, 10 or 15 seconds of palming, just blocking as much light as you can with the palms of your hands, not the fingers, but the palms. And right back into sunning. And you just alternate like 5, 10, 15 seconds of the bright light, 5, 10, 15 seconds of the really dark that you get from the palming. And there's a lot of adjustment going on with the involuntary muscles inside the eyes. Plus, we're getting this light therapy, this exposure to a healthy dose of full spectrum sunlight, which is essentially why we have eyeballs in the first place, is to receive light and specifically sunlight. But something that people could try like right now, even if you're inside or at a computer or something, is the pendulum swing,
Mhm.
which is one of my absolute favorites. And it's my kind of favorite way to like immediately kind of connect in with myself and kind of get grounded and calm down a little bit.
Mhm.
And
Could you
so,
show it? Sorry.
yeah, mhm.
Sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
It's, I I can't show it because it's mental. So unless you can
Okay.
read my mind and see what I'm visualizing, but
Well,
I can describe it and I can
describe
kind of
it. Yes,
guide you
please.
through it. So
Mhm.
if you just close your eyes, all it involves is picturing, whether that's like remembering or imagining or visualizing or however that makes sense to you, but you're just thinking about a pendulum. And so it could be a big pendulum. It could be like a grandfather clock, swinging side to side. Or sometimes I like to just pick a random object, like a crystal or a rock or a pine cone or something like that, and imagine that I'm tying a string around it and just holding it up by the string, so it creates this pendulum-like swing to it. And all of this practice involves is either palming or having the eyes closed and just imagining and watching this mental movie play in your mind of some object swinging side to side, not necessarily a large swing. It's not going like way off to the left and way off to the right. It actually stays fairly close to the midline, to the center, and it's kind of a small swing. But you definitely have this like sensation of movement and motion. And I
Mhm.
just want you to watch this movie for a few moments and just notice what this does to your mind, what it does to your eyes.
I've been experiencing it and testing it while you're describing it, and it does create a huge state of relaxation in the eyes, in the mind, in the body. Yeah, wonderful.
And if people aren't necessarily feeling that right yet, if you can force the pendulum to stop, if you freeze it to the left or to the right, so it's stuck in midair, and see what happens in your mind and in your eyes or your body. And then you let it go again, and the gravity takes it and it starts to swing again. And is there a difference?
Well, may I say something, or do you rather have the
Yeah.
people do their experience? Well, for me, I could see that when I would stop the pendulum, my breathing would stop and tension would start in my eyes and in my face,
Yeah.
and then on the rest of the body as well. Slight, but noticeable nevertheless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
When
very
I first
noticeable difference.
stop, it feels very unnatural and it feels like
Mhm,
something is wrong.
mhm, mhm,
And to me, essentially what's happening is we're staring. We're kind of creating a stare because it's stuck in motion. Our eyes stop moving. The mind, gets a little stressed or tense. The body might
mhm.
tighten up a little bit. And when I let it go again, it's like, everything is fine.
Ah,
Everything's back
exactly.
to normal.
Exactly. A
And
big release, big relief. Yeah.
yeah, and what I really want to encourage people to do is not to limit the pendulum swing to when their eyes are closed. So even if you open
Hmm.
your eyes back up and you look at the screen, what's going on with your pendulum? Have you forgotten about it because now you're distracted by the eyesight and what you're seeing on the screen? Or can you stay connected with this mental movie playing in your head?
Hmm.
And sometimes, to be really playful with it, I'll actually, this like movie analogy, how I've got this like projector in my head that's kind of playing a movie on a little screen that I'm watching. Sometimes I like to project it out of my head, like my eyes are actually projectors. And if I'm looking at you on the screen, I know I am actually imagining that there is a pendulum actually just going from your left eye to your right eye.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
Because if it was actually going over, then it would be like this, and you'd be like, why isn't Nathan looking at me? Because I'm like kind of
Uh-huh.
going
Uh-huh.
beyond you. And this is
Hmm.
different in person versus on the screen because the camera and you're down here. But if you're looking at someone, I don't know about you, but I used to stare at one eye. I would just pick one
Hmm.
eye and just be like, I'm here with you. I'm listening. I wouldn't blink. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But if I could just imagine, this little tiny pendulum, all of a sudden I had this easy, effortless adjustment from the left side of their face to the right side, and the stare was gone. And I was staying
Yeah.
more relaxed and in my mind and my body too.
Hmm.
So
I'm very happy that you bring imagination to natural vision improvement, talking about this. For me, this is one of the most amazing, concepts or principles rather of how this works, and also this movement. You are absolutely right to mention this. There's a lot of people, if they're not staring to the eyes and forgetting blinking or looking anywhere else, they feel like they're not being polite or they're not showing they're interested or paying attention. And indeed, to have a very good vision, it's important that the eyes can keep moving. So you just gave a very good key for people to be polite and still keep their eyes in good shape. I think I have a very mobile gaze anyway. So I will be looking at you and then out the window and then to the corner of the computer. And people sometimes think I'm dispersed in my attention, and it's not the case.
right.
Also, another thing is that I'm probably more of a kinesthetic than a visual person.
Mhm.
So I can be like paying lots of attention at you, even if I'm not looking. But
Yeah.
it's really, really good that you mentioned this. So people have something that they can use and be polite and be connected.
Yeah, because like
Wonderful.
yeah, we don't
Go
want
ahead.
this
Yes.
stuff
Sorry.
to like we don't want this stuff to feel like it has to be like compartmentalized into some little category like, okay, I've got my life over here and now I've got my
Mm-hmm,
vision practices and I can't do
mm-hmm,
my vision practices when I'm in public or when I'm with people. It has
mm-hmm.
to be this like secret private thing because it looks weird and it's like not normal, but
Yeah.
like it's called natural vision improvement. We're supposed to look natural and act natural and like so that pendulum swing, to me, that was my interpretation of what Dr. Bates meant when he said we're supposed to be swinging all day and all night. And even when we close our eyes to go to sleep at night, the swing continues. It's
Yeah.
more
So
to
we
me,
can.
yeah, the pendulum
Yeah. I
more
was going
so
to
than the
say.
body.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So I just came up with another tip by listening to you. You know, at least that's what we say in Spanish. When people are trying to go to sleep, they will imagine like little sheep going
Yeah,
over a fence and jumping over it. So now we can do the pendulum to go to sleep.
that's
And then
right.
we're both like relaxing and resting and taking care of our eyes.
I know.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all the good insights that you have been giving us and for sharing your story. And it would be amazing that you can, yeah, send us the links to the movie and that we can put all the information around so that people can discover it. Is there anything else you would like to add before we wrap up with this talk?
Yeah, like I know I mentioned, we did like a free screening of the documentary when it first released, and we do plan on doing more of those, some more like little events and little free showings and stuff. So you can always just kind of check in and on my main website, integraleyesight.com, I'm usually posting, any kind of events or things like that coming up. Um, so yeah, I'm just really excited for
Mhm.
people to check out the film and let us know what you think about it. And lots of opportunities to keep learning this stuff. And I really just hope that people's pendulums stay swinging throughout the summit. As you're learning all this amazing stuff, try and implement some of these tips and stuff, and
Mhm.
might make a big difference. And yeah, I'll make
Mhm.
sure I send you all the links and stuff to the
Yes.
podcasts and
Exactly. Please send me all the links. We will paste them near these videos somewhere around
yeah.
it for your podcast and your webpage and the documentary, of course. And another thing I'd like to mention is that, well, you have watched this interview while the summit is taking place, while the forum is taking place. The forum is completely for free. But if you'd like to keep the recordings of the forum, well, you've had the chance to buy them in advance. If you buy the recordings at this moment when the forum is being broadcasted, then you can have them for 97. I have to decide if it will be euros or dollars. For now, probably dollars this time. Um, and well, if you wait until the forum is over, the price will go up. So it's a better choice, a better option to buy the recordings now. And also know, if you do get the recordings, a big portion of what we generate with the recordings of the forum, well, some of it will have to go to pay systems and collaborators and things like that. But the portion that we can keep, we will dedicate it mostly to the Visionary Children Project, which is a solidarity project that we are carrying, bringing natural vision to kids in poor environments where they cannot even buy glasses or access surgery. And we, of course, have a much better solution than that, so that they can learn in school and thrive and yeah and have better chances in life. We are starting with this project next week, actually. So no, this very same week. We are Tuesday, and on Friday we're already starting in Oaxaca in Mexico. We have the support of local contacts there that are will be gathering 200 children, keeping all the healthy conditions that we need to have in this particular 2020 year. And we're going to bring some of the principles of natural vision improvement to them. So if you'd like to participate in this project, you can, well, know that by getting the recordings, not only will you invest in your own vision and your families for life, because once you learn this, it's like learning how to ride your bike. Once you learn this, it just stays with you forever. And you will be also helping children have a good vision and then a better life, being able to learn in school, to play sports, to integrate socially, to grow healthy. And it's an amazing thing, an amazing gift to do. So thank you very much, Nathan, for having participated and having given you our time and your experience. And I hope that we will collaborate in many other places and actions and things down the road. Thank you very much, Nathan.
Thank you so much. I know this has been awesome, and I can already see us working together more in the future with that foresight. So thank you again so
Wonderful.
much for inviting me today.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll probably be seeing each other around the forum anyway in the coming days. So yeah, looking forward to more. And if you'd like to keep paying attention, there's more coming. So probably you've been receiving announcements by email. So be aware and heads up for the next interviews to come. And I'll see you soon. Bye bye.